a guy that I do Steelers Afternoon Drive with, got an exclusive this week. James Daniels, like unprompted, just came out and told him that the Steelers are not negotiating an extension with him at this time, and they're not going to this offseason. So that means he's going to hit unrestricted free agency after 2024. They're going to let this season play out and see where they're at. I want to get your thoughts on this because to me, I don't get it. Like, I'll be honest, like, I don't get me wrong. I fully trust what Omar Khan has done here in his tenure with the Steelers. But this was one of those things, I'll say, similarly to kind of like the entire way that they've gone about the wide receiver position this offseason, where I just can't align myself with whatever the thought is. Like, I can't get on board with trying to figure out this process. James Daniels, in my opinion, a very good player. Was their most steady, consistent offensive lineman last year. Isaac Seumalo was a very good player as well, but I thought that he kind of had trouble getting acclimated early on. Daniels was a steady presence start to finish last year. And here's the thing, still only 27 years old. Like he's in line to get another bag. And maybe that's part of this. As they saw the guard market just blow up, Robert Hunt getting $100 million from Carolina. Kevin Dotson obviously got paid. Jonah Jackson got paid. Like a lot of guards got paid last offseason. And I wonder if the Steelers just realized we're not going to be in that market, so we're not going to waste James Daniels' time if we're not even going to come close to those numbers. So play out this year and see where we're at following 2024. But to not even have a conversation to me is the weird part here, because like I said, good player, still just 27, and where their priorities have been with building up this offensive line, it just kind of seems odd to me that they're not even having a conversation with the guy.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's not like it's a position like tackle where you just drafted your replacement, and if you were a guy like Dan Moore Jr. and this is happening to you, like I feel like that would be totally different if that was the conversation. But James Daniels is an incumbent starter on this team. And when you look at the guard depth, I mean, they must feel a lot more confident in like a guy like Spencer Anderson and how they feel about him moving forward than I do as far as the future of the guard position. Because like after James Daniels, you're looking at a combination of Nate Herbig, Spencer Anderson, and Mason McCormick to try to make up some of those spots. I don't think that is necessarily a confidence booster moving forward. Now, listen, maybe McCormick is going to hit in stride, and maybe by year 2, he is that starting spot, and that's totally fine and dandy, and it makes the Steelers look like geniuses. But I feel like it is interesting that they're not even having that conversation to at least entertain the idea, because you can have a conversation and still not come to an agreement and still ultimately not extend a contract offer. But you can have those negotiations. The fact that the Steelers are having no negotiation whatsoever with James Daniels, that's very interesting to me, considering how good he's been at the position and considering what they have, I guess, behind him at the position. Because going into next season, if that is the case, then guard becomes a very important position to watch along that offensive line. It goes to the tackle territory of what it's been the last couple of years, because you got Isaac Seumalo, who, while he's been great in his first season and hopefully continue to that, he's not getting any younger. And then you have a bunch of younger guys that are more so inexperienced with Herbig, Anderson, and McCormick, who is going to be a rookie, that don't have that much experience at the NFL level. And so you're not going to have a for-sure guy like you do with James Daniels. I'm not saying they need to sign him, but it is interesting to me from the Steelers' approach. Like, why would you not even see what you can even work out with him? Like, sure, Daniels might get up to like $15 million a year by someone in free agency, because someone is going to be willing to pay him probably a hefty contract for how good he's been. But that doesn't mean that you have to be that team. Just because you entertain the idea of a contract extension doesn't mean that you're going to have to be the one to give it to him. I just don't understand that from Omar Khan and the Steelers, especially at a team that doesn't have for sure depth behind it.
Right now, like 3 years, $26.5 million, I think was what the contract he originally signed. So less than $9 million per. I mean, he's going to double that, if not come very close to doubling that. So, I mean, yeah, I could understand if, you go through negotiations and you're just so far apart, but that's the thing. They're not even having a conversation right now about it. And maybe this is kind of just going to be a theme. Maybe because of the way that they went about the Najee Harris business, maybe with the way they're going about James Daniels. We'll see about Pat Freiermuth. Maybe it's going down this same road too. Maybe it really is just wanting to see everybody play within this offense before making any decisions about who they're attaching future to beyond 2024.
Yeah, that's true. This could be becoming a pattern, and maybe we're just so used to the way that like Kevin Colbert operated. We haven't seen a ton of experience with Omar Khan. We've only had one season with him, at least complete season with him as GM, and we haven't really seen this a ton in the past when it comes to like Kevin Colbert being the GM. I feel like at least negotiations would have been had by now. Now, maybe this regime is going to be different and Omar Khan operates differently. And everything that we've seen from Omar Khan up to this point has led me to believe that he is going to do the right thing for this organization. But it's still, it is very interesting to me that you don't even have some of these conversations. That's what I'm curious about. And maybe those conversations do come. Like as of right now, James Daniels doesn't have the conversation. Maybe later this summer they do. But it's interesting.
I mean, he made it seem like he was told
different.
they're not going to do it. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's
he
true.
Basically, the way that he told Allen was the Steelers told him they're not having those negotiations this year before the season. So, and they don't negotiate in season. Now, would that be broken? Like, because we're talking about this front office operating differently, could they also break their own trend in that way where they are willing to extend in season? And they'll also have a period of time.
I always thought that was a dumb tradition that Colbert and the Steelers have done in years past.
They'll also have a period of time, obviously, whether they make the playoffs or not. You have a period of time before, unrestricted free agency hits where they'll be able to talk to their own guys exclusively. So I don't know. Maybe that's when it gets revisited. I don't understand this process. Don't think I'll ever be able to wrap my mind around the idea of not even having a conversation with a guy, but it's the way that this is going. So, maybe it makes it more realistic that we do see, like on the other hand, I just mentioned about maybe they're just not looking to extend anybody in the offense because they want to see them all in a new system. Maybe the other way of looking at it is maybe it makes a Pat Freiermuth extension more likely. Like that's what they plan to do with the dollars right now is look at a Pat Freiermuth extension as opposed to a James Daniels one, try to get him at a lower number than you feel like he's going to be after having a 2024 in Arthur Smith's offense with an expanded role that we've talked about. Like, I don't want to use the term buy low, but like almost, right? Like you're kind of paying for what you think he's going to be, not necessarily what he has been. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. And I feel like some of these positions are like when you look at like running back, for example, Najee, you have a guy behind them that could step in as your future starter if need be. Now, whether or not you could say the same thing about the guard position, I think there are guys that probably, even if the fan base doesn't like it, the Steelers probably feel better than the fan base does about someone like Spencer Anderson or their rookie McCormick. I feel like they probably have a higher hope for those guys. And I mean, to be honest, they're going to know them better than we will. So maybe they see the writing on the wall that, hey, we don't have to pay this guy because we have these guys behind him that could fill in that spot. And so maybe that's just the way that they're going to be looking at these positions. And it seems different to me than any other like Steelers like off seasons or contract talks that we've ever had. Really just talking about like the Kevin Colbert era as the Steelers GM, because we're talking about, it seems more just like strictly business with Omar Khan. It doesn't seem like there's no sentimental feel when it comes to these negotiations. It's what is going to make this team the best team they can be in a given season. And if it's not going to be keeping this player around or that player around, then they're going to cut ties. I mean, and whether you agree with him or not, or believe him or not, Allen Robinson saying that he didn't know that he was going to be cut by the Steelers or wasn't aware that was something that was going to happen. I mean, first off, how could you not, Allen? I'm sorry, but
right.
But at the same time, it's just like if the Steelers don't think you're helping this team, I feel like they are more so than ever just willing to cut ties with a player. I mean, look at if Kevin Colbert was the GM, Kenny Pickett would not be a Philadelphia Eagle, and I'm pretty confident of that.